It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the assholes on the Dynasty tonight. That's right. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Dynasty tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like some kind of torture to have to watch the show. And now let's get things started. Why don't you get things started? It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, sexuational. This is what we call the Dynasty Podcast.
Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. I'm Commissioner Eric Costanzan. Joining me for the first portion of this particular show here in the off-season is Bubba Palucha.
Hello.
Bubba, you enjoying the off-season?
I am.
You got yourself a healthy breakfast there. We're recording on actually in the morning for one of the first times we've ever recorded in the morning.
I think this is the first time I've ever recorded in the morning.
This is probably the first time I've ever seen you or you've ever seen me prior to probably at least 1 o'clock in, I want to say, 20 years. Probably since Parks at Riverdale, when things opened at 9.
Most likely.
As an instructor, I didn't show up until 9:30. I didn't give a fuck.
I was there at like 8:30 waiting.
Let's see. So, as I said, Bub's going to be co-hosting with me here the first portion of the show, and then he's going to tag himself out.
Tag him, man.
And Mr. Ben Green's actually going to come in and co-host with me the second portion of the show. Oh, hello, Trista. Trista's joined us. Trista, say hello to the fine listeners at home.
Hi.
Trista, you watched a good movie recently. Well, you want to tell the people what it was?
No, not really.
Well, you should, though. Tell them what movie we just watched a couple nights ago.
It wasn't that good, was it?
No.
What was it?
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, and it was glorious. Okay, so, anything NFL related, Bub, that you want to just get out there? And then we get the draft coming up. We got a bunch of trades going on.
Trades,
Dynasty likes trades going on
It's,
in the NFL. Copycatters is what they are.
Boggles my mind that the Rams, who swindled the Redskins a few years ago with the RG3 trade, then just spun it around and did the same exact thing the opposite way.
With the Titans.
Which they didn't realize. They didn't learn,
They
apparently.
didn't learn. Yes, I agree. Are you looking forward to the upcoming season, Bub? We're months away, several months away, but yeah, are you looking forward to it? Has it hit you yet, or are you still not really even in that
I'll be honest,
yet?
I'm not even there yet.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Baseball
just started.
I really haven't looked at anything at all.
Yeah.
Since the playoffs, so I'm getting ready. Once the summer comes,
it'll come.
Yep,
it'll come. But that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I want to give you guys a little bit of your fantasy football fix, right?
Sure.
Okay. Before we completely move on, two things. One, we got ourselves a new coach. I know I made that email announcement, but I know you are familiar with the gentleman, so maybe you'll let you kind of introduce him in a sense to let the people know of this person and what he's made up of ethically. That's what we really care about, right?
So his given name is Craig Badesian.
I have no idea who that is.
Yep. But we call him Briscoe.
Okay, now I know.
Do you remember why we call him Briscoe?
I actually didn't. I thought it was just simply because he looked like Briscoe from the WWF.
Yeah, he looked
when he was a kid.
He looks like Gerald Briscoe, one of Vince McMahon's former henchmen.
Right, but I didn't realize apparently it was Johnny C who nicknamed him.
Correct.
I did not know that.
Back in the Parks.
It's ironic considering he's taking over his team.
It's like the circle of life.
It is a circle of life, and speaking of the circle of life, apparently Briscoe's a vegan as well.
Yeah, you know what? And I didn't even really think about that. He's not as
diehard.
He's not as open. Not, I don't want to say open, but not diehard. I guess is a good circle of life. Diehard. My goodness. Not as out there about it as Mr. Johnny C is. So I didn't really think of it until he brought it up. But yeah, it's a weird coincidence.
Right. He's made his decision on his team name, which is Valvinus.
I don't know why he likes that.
Well, for those of you that may or may not know, Valvinus is also a kind of a wrestling. He used to be a wrestler. He wasn't even one of the bigger wrestlers. I mean,
he was like an intercontinental kind of guy.
Yeah,
Never a WWE heavyweight.
Right. I was hoping to have Briscoe on this show to kind of introduce him all to you, but he had a little bit of a scheduling conflict. But I thought it might make sense to wait until one of the first shows.
I think he's in Ireland.
Yeah, he's away.
He goes to Ireland every 3 months.
So we'll have him on at some point. And then the second thing before we move on here is we need to put a final kind of stamp on last season's Dynasty, season 12. We didn't have a final show at the end of the season. So I think we need to just highlight Coach Matt Whiffin's championship victory, give him the appropriate send-off. Well, you're right. Maybe we shouldn't. Should we not?
I think we should skip it. That's my vote. I vote no. What do you vote?
I'm gonna vote yeah.
So it's a tie.
It's a tie, and I'm the commissioner, so ties go to me. Sorry. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and highlight Dynasty Bowl 12. What is your highlight of Dynasty Bowl 12? Off the cuff, without months later. What's the first thing you think of when you
just a complete? It's like the Seahawks versus the Steelers Super Bowl back in 05. Nobody remembers it. Right. Like nobody cares.
Right. An annihilation.
Hear that, Matt? Nobody cares.
Dynasty Bowl 12's opponents were the South Riverdale Division champion Hong Kong Cavaliers versus the wild card winning transgender Satanists of Coach Johnny C. Similar to Hong Kong's last Dynasty Bowl appearance and victory in Dynasty Bowl 10, Coach Whiffin's Cavaliers got off to a good lead, being jump-started by Drew Brees' 18 points, Devontae Freeman's 13 points, Tyler Eiferd's 11 points, and the Houston Texans defense going off for a Dynasty Bowl 12 leading 29 points. Meanwhile, players who helped get Costanza's Satanists this far vastly disappointed, with Tom Brady's 5 points, D'Angelo Williams' 1 point, Doug Baldwin's 4 points, and Rob Gronkowski's 1 point. The Cavs' second-round pick and 2015's NFL receiving yards leader, Julio Jones, was also a key component to an eventual blowout victory, and as Bub pointed out, a forgetful victory apparently. Forgettable. Chipping in with 14 points, Julio Jones did. Probably thanks to his high school football coach, friend of the Dynasty podcast. Anywho, the final score, Hong Kong Cavs 113, Transgender Satanists 67, and Coach Matt Whiffin's Hong Kong Cavaliers is your Dynasty 12 champion and first active two-time champion. The 67 points the Satanists scored broke a record for the least amount of points scored ever in a Dynasty Bowl. Not the way Coach Johnny C wanted to end his tenure in the league. Good luck and good night.
Now it is time. Fucking right, it's time. So grab your balls and let's go. Coach's interview. Here we fucking go.
Yes, sound the trumpets. On the coach's hotline, we are honored to have now a two-time Dynasty champion. He is coach of the Hong Kong Cavaliers, Coach Matt Whiffin. Coach, let me be the first to officially congratulate you on your championship.
Sir.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. How does it feel? Let's start with that.
I feel like I'm better than everyone in the league, and I can back it up.
Indeed.
And I am.
There, yes, you. Nobody can argue with that. That's for sure. Dynasty Bowl 12 was a complete and utter blowout. You scored 112 points, and you just got very good, consistent, good production from some of your key guys. Can you go ahead and maybe announce to all of us who you are officially naming as the Dynasty Bowl 12 MVP?
A lot of people would say Todd Gurley, but I think Julio Jones was just so great in that wide receiver spot. He's such a shitty team he was on, but he's so friggin' good.
Mm-hmm.
And he just racked up all the points, and all season. He's my team MVP too.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give him the Dynasty Bowl MVP as well.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Fair enough. I mean, the Houston Texans defense actually scored the most points in the game. They had like 29 or whatever points, but I mean, you can't really. I mean, you could, but you can't really give an MVP to a team like that. So Julio Jones makes all the sense in the world, and actually he becomes the fourth Dynasty Bowl MVP who is a receiver. So that's a little trivia question for you. Can you remember any of the other three receivers, Matty?
Is Jabbar Gaffney one?
Yes, that's an obscure one right there. Yep, C1 for Soul Glow, Jabbar Gaffney. You want to take a stab at the other two, or?
All right, I'm trying to think of past champions.
I'll give you.
Well, Bubba's not one of them, so none of his players could ever be an MVP because he's never won.
True.
It's going to be tough for him to ever pick an MVP in the past because he's never won it.
Bubba's sitting here biting his tongue and is refusing to speak, but maybe I'll get him to speak in a moment. I'll give you a hint. One of them is when your opponent in Dynasty Bowl 12 actually won his championship, which I think was in D9-ish, I want to say, 8-ish, I don't know, somewhere around.
You want to say it.
I want to say it. I'm not sure, though. I don't remember.
Shit on my balls. I don't remember who the receivers were. I'm going to take a guess and say Dez Bryant.
Good guess. Victor Cruz was the Dynasty.
Of course.
Victor Cruz.
UMass's own.
Yeah, right. You should have known that. And then Randy Moss also won back in the earlier days. So, congratulations to Julio Jones. Bub, would you like to get your thumb out of your ass and ask our champion a question?
Matt, how you doing? Good. Yeah, I'm good too, thanks. This Dynasty Bowl was pretty much over before it even started. I mentioned earlier in the show it was basically a sleeper type of, no one even cares. No one cares. And so my question to you is, at what point were you A, comfortable, or B, thinking that you had a good shot to win it? Was it before it even started, or was it, 10 minutes in?
Great question. Before I answer that, I'd like to ask Bubba. Actually, I'll say this. Bubba, if you've ever had a homosexual experience in college, stay quiet. Nice. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
It was a little grainy. What was you said?
Yeah.
When did I know it was in the bag?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's a great question. I'd say, honestly, like once the 4 p.m. game started rolling around, I didn't think it was in the bag. Anything could happen, but I kind of was.
Felt confident.
I was very relaxed compared to the last Dynasty Bowl against you.
Yeah.
When I was sweating the whole time because that was a close game. That was a nail biter. This one I was pretty relaxed and enjoying things.
Right. Out of curiosity, which do you prefer? Like, do you prefer to win the game that is pretty much out of hand? You're still on edge because anything could happen, but you're feeling pretty confident, or do you prefer to win the game that is a nail biter and you pull it off at the end? Just out of curiosity, because none of us that are listening would know the answer, since none of us have won too. Like, yeah.
Honestly, I think it depends on the opponent, because John didn't really do anything. He didn't really smack talk. He didn't analyze anything.
Yep.
So, kind of, if it was a nail biter with that, I don't know. I kind of like the nail biter. That's what Dynasty's all about, the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? I'm going to go with that.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And it makes sense too. It kind of depends on the opponent. But so you're now tied for the most Dynasty championships ever, where you obviously have 2. You're tied with a former team that used to be in the league. He's no longer known as the Maestros. But you're the first two-time champion of all the teams that are currently in the league actively. So, I guess do you personally feel, and I think I know the answer, but do you personally feel that you are the best franchise currently in the league?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I currently am. I think what my philosophy is working. The in and out every other year. I think that's the way you can win championships in the league. Obviously, you can go and be competitive like you have without doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have obviously shown a lot of success doing that.
Yeah, and actually, you don't know this, Matt. A little surprise to you, but this week I actually performed a little bit of a league poll. I did not include you on it because I wanted to. I mean, yeah,
What the fuck?
I know, right? It was a fun little thing through email, and I actually got good responses from everyone. I asked everybody, for this podcast, for this interview right now, with Hong Kong Cavaliers being of 49-56. Which is 7th out of 12 all-time in winning percentage. However, being 4-0 in the playoffs and being the only active two-time champion, are the Hong Kong Cavs the best team in the league. And actually, I was a little surprised that only 3 actually it was 10, I should say, because you don't count, and then I also didn't include the new guy, Briscoe.
Andy McVegan.
yeah, because he obviously wouldn't have any idea. So out of 10 people, 3 thought you are, and 7 think that you are not, or at least they didn't respond, which I outlined in the email, implies that you're not. So approximately 3 people think you are. So I mean, in a way, glass half full, Matt. You look at where you were at a few years ago, before you won the first time, versus to where you are at now, where at least maybe approximately 30 to 40% of the teams out there think that you're the best team in the league, best franchise in the league. I mean, glass half full. That's got to feel good, right? Or are you very biased?
I think the other 7 are just jelly.
They could be.
So,
they could be. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. I'm jealous of your 2 championships. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not. I'm just letting my hair down right now. You mentioned this a little bit just a moment ago, but talk a little bit more, if you don't mind, regarding your. You've won 2 of the last 3 championships, kind of implementing your all in one year and then rebuild the next year. Can you? Maybe we all understand what the strategy is, but do you think that basically everyone should be doing that at this point, now that it seems like it's worked for you? Do you think that you'll always basically do this, or do you think you'll ever stray away from it? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
I think you have to be smart about it. I didn't trade all my top picks like right away. I kept that second for a while, just waiting to pounce on like a seller with a position that I needed. Mm-hmm. And it had to have been like an elite player at the time, which is what I did. I waited until Melo decided to be a seller, and that's how I got Freeman.
Yep.
And you just as long as you're drafting well, and you just don't blow your load right away, trading those high picks. Mm-hmm. I think every other season is right, because let's say 2 years from now, I loaded up and I just sucked the big one again. I'm not going to keep trading picks again to be competitive.
Right.
You just got to be smart about it.
Right. Well, you've certainly shown that you are smart about it.
I'm wicked smart.
It's worked out great for you. I congratulate you, and I guess lastly, and Bub, you're very quiet right now. You're a very quiet man. It's interesting. I don't know if the cat's got your tongue. Anywho,
before you say,
yeah.
Bubba, again, if this is true, don't say anything. Have you had sexual relations with your brother? Wow.
Oh, wow. That's
Revelation City here.
That says a hell of a lot right there. Any fun? You want to? I don't know. Kind of I guess the floor's yours a little bit. Do you want to give a thanks to anybody, any of your players, coaches, anyone that's gotten you to this point? As a champion, 2-time champion. You want to thank anyone? I want to give you a little chance to give an award speech if you have one.
Sure. There's definitely one person I'd like to thank out of everyone. This person has been pretty much the greatest influence I could have throughout the years.
Wow, you're tearing up. You're getting emotional.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the wind beneath my wings, and that's me. So I just want to thank me for everything I've done for me. I'm the best.
Congratulations, Matt. I will be there at draft day to hand you again your Dynasty Championship trophy. We'll see your plaque or your banner there up on the walls of all past champions there as well. So, again, congratulations. Thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of the off season. We'll see you soon.
All right, man. Well, God bless. I mean, me bless everyone.
All right, later, dude.
Later.
Stop everything. Seek shelter. Run for the hills. We have ourselves breaking news from the world of the Dynasty.
Okay, breaking news, and it may not be that breaking because you probably are aware at this point that we are going to 3 divisions.
Yep.
We've made that pretty well known to this point through the various methods. So if you don't know, then get your ass out of the rock. No, get your head under the rock. It's gonna be your rock though. You gotta take the rock.
The rock? Like the people's champ?
No. We had our Dynasty board member meetings, Bub, which actually went glowingly.
They were quick this year.
They were quick.
I feel like last year, the last few years, we went until like July.
Yeah, and we had like
75 things.
75 things. We had like verbal, like
berating. Oh yeah, we went at each other.
Hardcore. This year with that, not so much.
Nope.
We still had our things that we of course disagreed on, but whatever, nothing too passionately about. So the 3 divisions, I'm going to go through a few new things so that you guys are aware. Of course, I'll be relaying them in other methods such as the Gazette. But while we're here, let's talk about more of some of the important things here. Going to 3 divisions, and why are we going to 3 divisions, Bub, you ask? The answer to that question is because you, the members of the league, a lot of you spoke, and I listened. I'm a listening commissioner.
Yeah.
I may or may not take action on all of your suggestions, but if you put up a good enough fight for a long enough time, there may be the chance that I might think about backing.
I think we should move to 24 teams.
Okay. Not going to happen. 24 teams, first and foremost.
Damn it.
Yeah. So a lot of you guys talked about the in-season competitiveness, how that is possibly a little bit of a flaw, whatever. And this is one of the things that we're doing to try to help with that. Going to 3 divisions, obviously there'll be 4 teams in the 3 divisions. So,
wait, 4?
Yep,
3.
do the math. It's going to work out.
Where's the missing team? That's only 11.
No, 4 times 3, 12. There you go. 12 teams.
Oh.
You got it. There it is.
I didn't.
It's okay.
It's
okay.
You know.
So I don't have to go through all that. I think you guys all understand why that helps with in-season competitiveness. If you don't, then you're a dink. So let's tell you what the divisions are going to be. Right? We got to reline it here, and I'll tell you how we came up with it. So first of all, we are stripping out Riverdale. We are taking the Riverdale out of.
It's gone. This is something I was. Was I aware of this?
No, and let me know what you think of my decision.
Sure.
I was literally going to make that its own topic, which was going to be named Riverdale in Divisions, yes or no? And we were literally going to have an email and waste our own time and effort and keystrokes to talk about whether or not Riverdale should be in the North, Central, and South divisions.
So you didn't.
But I decided, you know what?
You didn't think that was worth our time, which is fair enough. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But you thought that last year the league slogan was worth not only our time but also a league vote.
I may or may not be consistent with my
Okay,
thoughts.
that's fair enough.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. How dare you? The slogan is wonderful. An all-star thing. I almost forgot it. An all-star.
I still wish it was the Jeff Gardless.
Jeff Gardless since 2000. And
I vote to change. I'm going to throw that out there.
All right.
Let's put it on the league ballot.
Oh, it's on there. It's the morning, guys. All right. So in the North, just the North Division. By the way, do you agree with removing Riverdale?
I have no.
You have completely partial. You don't give a shit.
The problem is, I mean, how many people are really?
I think it's 6. I think it's half the league. I think me, you, Briscoe, Ben. Was Zach? Was Chris? I don't know.
No,
Not really.
because they were
so 5-ish.
I think Zach went like for a year or two, way back when.
Yeah. Okay.
But Chris didn't,
so all right. So in the North,
I agree.
You agree? All right. In the North, we got Soul Glow. We got the Riverdale Scoopers. We got the Hong Kong Cavaliers. We got the Yoi Soy Fiesta.
Yes.
4 teams, 1 division.
Yes.
The Central, kind of a new division.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that.
And you're in it, Bub.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
So Bub Gum Shrimp, Boston Loggers, Handy Quacks, and VIP on Swole. And in the South, I was thinking of doing East, Central, West.
Could have done that.
But I went North, Central, South.
I feel like East and West probably would have makes more sense. Looking at our country,
Yeah.
you know, and even our state,
Yeah.
I feel like we're more of a East to West type of location.
For those of you that are listening, if you want the divisions to be East, Central, West versus North, Central, South, let me know. Tweet me, text me, send me a letter, anything. You can do anything you want. Just in some fashion, inform me. And if we get enough people, I'll say 6, including yourself.
Okay.
Then we'll change it.
I'm going to rally the troops.
All right. And in the South is the Pig Newtons, the Rockdalian Senators, the Valvenuses, or Valvenus.
The Valveni. It's Latin.
And Brutal Deluxe. Now, how do we come up with this realignment, you ask? I will inform you all it was not a unanimous decision. This is probably one of the more passionate topics that we had during the board member meetings. And it was actually the only topic that we brought in the third member of our... was it, actually? Yeah, it was.
One of,
it
if
was.
not the only.
Yeah, which is Phil. So I want to let you guys know that up front. But at the end of the day, what we did is... So we, here in the Dynasty, we have an elaborate amount of... I just made up a word. An elaborate amount of stats that, past history and things like that. So I felt that it would be foolish to not use some of those stats to our benefit when determining how we should maybe determine who's in what division. So we kind of looked at the all-time stats, and we used that. We kind of ranked the teams in order of how they are, like from an all-time winning percentage standpoint. So we kind of used math, the all-time stats, by ranking the teams. Plus, we put in a couple of other little minor factors, one of which was, which I'm sure you guys will appreciate, I hope, that I, the commissioner, should not be in what may be considered the easiest division by the math. So, like, we couldn't do it perfectly where it worked out. Like, in other words, if I was ranked with 12 points because I have the best winning percentage, and someone like... I don't have. Do you have the all-time stats?
Oh yeah, I just scrolled by him.
Someone like
Brandon. Are we looking for?
Yeah, let's say Brandon, who's currently.
We gave him 11
10,
actually because
so he's towards the bottom in or 2 or however we ranked it for winning percentage. And then follow that method. For the rest of the teams, it didn't work out completely perfectly. Where if you add up all 4 teams, it was like literally all even. So it was only by a point or 2, but I, as a commissioner, shouldn't be in the easiest division by breaking it out that way. So we did that, and then 2, we didn't want Valvenus and Yoisoy, the 2 newer guys, to be in the same division, because obviously...
We don't know anything about him.
We don't know. I mean, Derek has a year under his belt, but still obviously a little bit early. And
Briscoe doesn't even wear a belt.
Yeah, so we didn't want them to be in the same division. So... it's a scientific algorithm wrapped into an enigma. But basically, we used all those factors to determine these divisions. So at the end of the day, I have 2 thoughts. One,
bless you. Thanks.
You're welcome. If you don't agree with these divisions, then you just don't have confidence enough in your own coaching abilities to really compete with anyone in the league. You know, you should be. I don't care who's in my division. I'll beat anybody. That's what your thought should be, in my opinion. 2. If you don't like these divisions, then you may, which is, I don't blame you. You may be thinking a bit selfishly. You might be thinking biasly towards your own team, like, oh, like I wish I wasn't in the same division as so and so. So, Bub and I are able to put our bias aside and think what's best for the league. So I hope you guys can think about that and appreciate it. Hopefully, we're all good with these this division alignment, and because it's not changing, this is what it is. So, Bub, final thoughts regarding everything I just explained.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. We have 2 new draft day rules, which I'm going to quickly inform you guys of. The first one is called the Will Tamulus rule, a combination of Will DeYoung and Phil Tamulus. Imagine if those 2 mated, Bub, and out came an offspring. Ugh. What comes out is this rule, which is, if a coach attempts to draft in the wrong draft slot, during draft day, of course, that coach receives a draft day warning and is immediately eligible for a nerfing. So, obviously, over the past 2 seasons, we saw Will do it 2 years ago. We saw Phil do it, I think, a couple times last year, where they went and drafted in the wrong draft slot. This is obviously just more of a fun thing. We have other draft day rules that apply. We thought we might as well just govern this and make this official to give this incident, which seems to be growing more and more each year, an actual rule, so that if somebody does it, they get an official warning, and they, of course, can get nerfed if you desire. Agreed, Bub?
Agreed.
Last rule, the Brandon McDowell, Josh Brown rule, which, of course, is stemming off what occurred last draft, which is if the name of a player who a coach writes on the draft board is who the coach drafts, regardless if the coach meant a different player. Bub, explain.
He tried to draft John Brown, who, by the way, had already been drafted.
Correct.
He tried to draft John Brown. He accidentally drafted Josh Brown, the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he wanted to draft John Brown, but like I said, already got drafted, so he couldn't do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's just a fucking stupid thing.
Right. So if someone writes down a name and it actually is somebody else, which is possible in today's NFL.
Sure.
I think of the Adrian Peterson situation from a few years ago.
That would have been. That's tough.
What do you mean?
Because it's the exact same name.
Oh, right. Yeah, that may not be the best.
It's not Josh Brown, John Brown.
Yeah. But I think you guys get the point. So we're just governing these random, unique things that are kind of coming up, so that we're not kind of figuring it out on the fly and possibly pissing people off with decisions that aren't really governed. So there you go. The individual fumble recovery for a touchdown, we're changing that, Bub.
Yes.
You were a proponent of this.
Sure.
Why don't you go ahead and explain to the people?
Yeah, so if I forget who it was. Do you remember?
There's a few
Randall
people.
Cobb.
I think Julio and Gronk. It's happened a couple times.
It was Randall Cobb right towards the end of the season. Recovered a fumble by someone on his team, probably Eddie Lacy, and in all the other leagues,
he's fat.
That's why
he
stinks. He gets 6 points for that because it's a touchdown by Randall Cobb, and in the Dynasty he didn't. So I thought, he scored a touchdown. He should get the fumble recovery. Mm-hmm. And so we went through a very, very lengthy discussion about this that took about 3 seconds.
Actually, you did. You wrote a really long email because I think you thought I was like.
I did, yes.
Yeah. And you wrote like this big long explanation, which I appreciate. Thank you for that. And then I responded, I think something along the lines of like, you had me at well. Yeah. So that will now be a touchdown here in the Dynasty. And then lastly, I'm still waiting on some league ballots, so I'm not sure yet, but we might be changing the way that keeper announcements are determined. But again, this is one that you thought of, so why don't you tell the people about this? It may or may not happen, but right now the votes are swaying towards this happening.
I thought this would be interesting if we announced the keepers on draft day, so that way, most of the time you know who someone's keeping, but like last year, for example, with me, I very intelligently kept Andrew Luck. Instead of, Gronk or anybody else. But it would have been interesting if nobody had known, so you have to kind of plan for a couple different situations on draft day. I thought that throws a little bit of a wrench into people's plans, and it makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, it gives it a little bit more drama and a little more exciting on draft day for those of, that might have a bit of a surprise type of keeper. And if that happens, then that slightly changes the video show that we do. It wouldn't be the keeper announcement special or whatever. It would probably just be more like a season kickoff type of thing. So there you go. So those are some of the changes that are or might be taking place. And we'll talk more about them, but we want to just highlight them for you assholes.
The Power Rankings. Hey, hey, hey. Who's number one? Hey, hey. Who's second ass? The Dynasty Power Rankings.
But that is probably, and listeners, that is probably the last time on this show that you will hear that awesome jingle, which I know is very...
It is an awesome
Yeah, it's very catchy. I personally, literally, and I'm honest, I've heard some of you guys singing this jingle to yourself before. So enjoy it.
What?
I hope. Yeah, I've heard people singing this jingle to themselves. So I think it's
You
done
don't
its
count.
job. No. I guarantee it was not me. I'm not going to throw this person under the bus. But I don't know what that thing is on the computer screen. It's self-destruct button. Don't worry about it.
It's going to restart the computer.
Power rankings, Bob. It's going away.
Yeah.
I want you to tell the people why it's going away, and I want you to tell the people what's going to replace the Power Rankings as head of the used to be Power Rankings Association and new head of the new association.
Do we have a name?
I don't even know.
Oh, I'll think of one.
know.
I'll think of a good one. The Power Rankings, I think, just kind of ran its course. It got a little laborious. I don't know, making up words again.
Monotony.
To write and get everybody's information. And now that CBS has their own kind of Power Rankings each week that they send out, we thought it was time to do away with it. And so now we're just going to have a quick little kind of preview, prediction type of thing. So, for example, if I'm writing it, I would look at all the games. I'd make one or two comments about each game real quick, who I think is going to win, and that's it. So it's
even like a score too. I think.
Yeah. Throw a score out there. So
we're more looking ahead to the following week and predicting what that writer thinks is going to happen versus what ranking the teams of what had previously. Right?
When I write them, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to try to have some fun with it, like I did with the Power Rankings. So, if you have a problem with that, I got 2 words for you.
and write myself as well, because with the podcasts, we're not doing as many.
Yep.
We're doing maybe a few during the season, mostly special shows like this one in the beginning of the season, towards the end of the season. We'll sprinkle in a few during the season, but due to that, I'll have a little bit more time. So I'm gonna help out with the writing as well as I used to. I'm assuming Brandon is also going to be doing that. But anyway, so that's what's going on. We don't really have an official name for it yet. So if you guys have any ideas, we're thinking maybe the Dynasty Predictioners Association, or something like that. We're open to ideas. Bob, I'd like to thank you for co-hosting with me today.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I hope you don't mind. We're going to go ahead and bring in Ben Green for the rest of the show.
I'll tag out.
Yeah, why don't you tag?
You're gonna be a football player.
Today is the best day of your life. Believe it.
He might be the finest quarterback produced in the last 10 years.
He's a day like this. That's all I need.
Fortunately for me, I didn't lose my life, didn't lose my job. Football convinced me that life is a team game.
Rest of your life, nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it.
The Dynasty Hall of Fame.
All right, and before we get into the Hall of Fame, actually, we got ourselves a little bit of a substitution. Bubba has tagged out, if you will, and in comes Mr. Ben Green of the Boston Loggers. Ben, thank you for kind of co-hosting with me this second portion of the show.
Yeah, no problem, Eric. How's it going? How's everything?
Yeah, so we're in the midst of the off season, but we got the draft coming up and things of that nature. Before you know it, we're going to get into OTAs and training camp and all that. But let's not rush the summer too much. Ben, since we have you, before we get into the Hall of Fame, it's been about 3-4 months, since the end of the season. There, have you gotten over the heartbreak of what occurred in the postseason to your team?
I would say yes. I definitely took some time off. Did a little traveling, but like you said, now that the draft is coming up, we're starting the off-season program. I think the Loggers are ready to make a comeback. It was tough, losing in the first round, but I think we've moved past it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you had a record, tied a record with me, 14-1 in the regular season. Obviously, remarkable job winning the division and whatnot. And when you have that type of a season, you hope you can cap it off with a championship, or at least getting to the title game. But hey, at least you got yourself, your first season of competitiveness, and you went up the ranks from an all-time stat standpoint. So at least there's some good news there. Let's now you're part of the Hall with me, a part of the Hall of Fame Association. You and I sit down every off season and kind of talk about some of the events and scandals and players and things that occurred in this past season, in an attempt to just determine what candidates there should be for the Hall of Fame. Again, these candidates will be voted upon in 3 years, but we would like to go ahead and announce we actually have 9 nominees that will be candidates for the Dynasty 12 Hall of Fame. So I figured maybe I'll start and we'll kind of switch off a little bit. The first nominee that we determined would be a possible enshrinement into the Hall of Fame is the fake Dynasty microphone, which was used to sort of interview various Patriot players during this past training camp: Troy Brown, Gostkowski, Roman Pfeiffer. It was also placed upon the actual literal podium at Patriots Media Room. If you guys saw that on Twitter and Facebook and on the Gazette. That's the same podium Belichick his press conferences at, Brady, Deflategate and whatnot. And it was the microphone was also stuck into the midst of other legit microphones when I was at the training camp there trying to interview Bill Belichick. Again, another picture that we can look at and think of. So anyway, the Dynasty fake microphone is a possible candidate for the Hall of Fame. Ben, what do you think about that?
I remember, it's funny because I was also at that in-stadium practice, and I remember, all the media rushing the field at the end, and little did I know until I was in the car after that you were in that scrum with media. So it's definitely a good nominee to start off the Hall of Fame candidates.
Absolutely. Do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so number 2 was Antonio Brown, the first player ever traded twice on draft day, resulting in him being on 3 teams in one day. So this part is a little hazy to me because I was at the end of the table next to Heaney since I was drafting first, and I do remember this happening on the other side of the draft table. So maybe you can elaborate a little more, Eric, because I was so focused into drafting that.
Absolutely, I sure will, Ben. And I think also a little bit of it may have gotten confused with the fake trade that occurred, which is actually the next or a nominee coming up with Heaney. We'll get to that. But basically, what happened is, so I kept Antonio Brown. Okay, then on draft day, I traded Antonio Brown to Brandon McDowell, Brood of the Lux. Now, this trade was actually agreed upon way prior, actually during the previous season. Brandon and I, agreed upon a trade. And so that trade went through, and then Brandon decided that he is not in a position where I think he was going to be able to compete. So he then immediately traded Antonio Brown after obtaining him to Phil of Pig Newtons. Obviously resulting in Antonio Brown technically being on 3 teams in a matter of seconds. And is something that will always go down in Dynasty lore as a head scratcher on Brandon's behalf, but a possible classic moment, possible Hall of Fame moment and player. Does that clarify for you, Ben?
Yes, it does. I remember it.
There it is. All right, nominee number 3, the average couch score, or otherwise known as the ACS. which was born during draft day, having no pick until the 10th round or no trophy to admire. Coach Zach Palucha ranked each draft pick while he sat on the couch with a white or dry erase board, determining each draft a scale of 1 to 10. And it actually took a life of its own, and it was actually a really fun thing. So I don't know, possible thing that might occur now going forward with each draft for whoever is on the couch maybe, but the average couch score is a nominee for the Hall of Fame.
I can definitely see that continuing for the in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously up to the person or people on the couch, but I mean, I think a lot of people had fun with it. So we shall see. Next nominee, sir.
The number 4 nominee is the fake trade between Coach Chris Heaney and myself. So I showed up on draft day, and Chris is kind of whispering to me in the corner about some sort of trade, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And, it was a little awkward, so I kind of just walked away, and then I came back and sat down. He's asking me again about the trade, this and that, and I said, yeah, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to trade that pick. I forget which pick it was. And then he said, well, you're going against it now, this and that. So I thought, I was totally in the blind about it.
Yes, and I think apparently what happened was, I forget if it was Bob or Zach or both of them. I think what happened was Chris asked them for or them or another friend or something like that for your number to text you regarding trade negotiations. I think it was literally on draft day or the day before, and then Bob or Zach or someone gave Chris the wrong number. I think maybe another friend, and then the friend was in on it. So Chris thought that he was talking to you, when in actuality he was talking with one of Bub or Zach's friend, and Bub and Zach were basically telling them what to say. Shame on Chris for not using the Dynasty spreadsheet, which has everyone's contact information in it. So
right, and I already had his phone number, so I was, it was good. It was funny.
Yeah. So possible, nominee and a possible enshrinement right there. Nominee number 5, Josh Brown, the kicker. So with pick number 105 in the 9th round, Coach Brandon McDowell attempted to draft Arizona Cardinals wide receiver John Brown, who had already been drafted, but he wrote Josh Brown, who was a kicker for the Giants. This was the time that both the guard dog ADD rule, which is redrafting a player, and the Bub Palucha Steve Smith rule, which is misspelling a player's name, was ever violated with the same pick in the same selection. An impromptu board members discussion took place to discuss whether or not Brandon should be stuck with the Giants kicker Josh Brown, or if he should be allowed to redraft. It was a bit of a split decision, and I actually, I felt bad for Brandon, so I ended up, kind of siding with him and letting him pick again. And later on in the season, we had Josh Brown on this very show, in which we actually literally told him about this incident. So anyway, Josh Brown, congratulations. You are a nominee for the Dynasty Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think no more needs to be said about that one.
Agreed.
And it kind of, it moves us right into nominee number 6 is Jonas Gray.
Mm-hmm.
12th round, Coach Brandon McDowell selected unemployed, just released running back, Jonas Gray. Well done, Britt. Well done.
Yes, picking up on a pattern here that there are quite a bit of Brandon incidents just from draft day here for nominees to the Hall of Fame, and probably nothing else needs to be said regarding that. Nominee number 7, Dustin Hopkins. This is I think we've very much talked about this at nauseum in the Gazette and whatnot. We probably don't need a reminder. I think we all remember and know what occurred regarding Zach and the weaselness and and him just trying to block strategically the kicker situation. He forgot about Dustin Hopkins. I picked him up. It didn't matter from a win-loss standpoint, but it was still funny that he couldn't do it right, and I ended up having that man on the show as well later on in the in the show. And anyway, there you go. That's Dustin Hopkins. And nominee number 8, Ben.
Yes, nominee number 8 is between Coach Matt Whiffen and myself, we both embraced in a hug before I left the midseason hangout.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some talk as to, why Coach Whiffen wanted to hug me, instead of just a handshake or a fist bump. So I remember the Dynasty, the Riverdale Gazette actually reached out to me, asked me my feelings about it, and, I was pretty honest. I mean, it started, I remember a few years ago when he made a comment about my girlfriend, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? So
Vaguely,
yeah. It was something like that. But, in essence, I think he knew that, we might be facing each other eventually in the playoffs, and, maybe he was trying to get in my head or something like that. And, who knows, because we never ended up facing each other.
Well, unfortunately, I've never been the recipient of a Matt Whiffen hug. At least not that I can remember. If I have been, then it really wasn't anything special.
Yeah.
But I know that Will got involved. I don't know if Will noticed the hug or literally saw it, or if he was maybe a third party may have reported it to him. But I know that there was some possible ethical, violations done. Unfortunately, we reached out to I think Will reached out to Jillian's to see if there was some sort of security camera footage of the hug, to see if there was any type of ass grab or anything like that. Unfortunately, that wasn't. We weren't able to get to that point, but. A nominee nonetheless. And lastly, and I think this is one that, and we certainly may have probably more than one, but this is one, in my opinion, that is a definite, in my humble opinion. The last nominee, which is Coach Derek's, or new guy. I don't know if he'll be still referred to as new guy now that we have a newer guy, but Coach Derek's apple canning incident of Week 7. Again, this was very much detailed in the Gazette. But basically, in Week 7, he took to Facebook and kind of did a running diary or comments, if you will, of his apple canning. While he was watching the NFL, the Palucha brothers, were offended. They started getting on him. Derek claimed that they were cyberbullying his ass. Filed a complaint again to Will. One thing led to another. There was money missing off the counter. My sister got knocked up, and there you go. So, to me, this is a definite, it took on a life of its own. I think Derek has already promised that he will be apple canning again this upcoming season, so we'll have to be looking out for that. We'll have to be looking out how the Palucha brothers respond to that. So just a lot going on there, and in my opinion, an absolute must to the Hall of Fame. Ben, do you agree?
I agree 100%.
There you go.
Stop everything. Seek shelter. Run for the hills. We have ourselves breaking news from the world of the Dynasty.
Okay, so we do have even more breaking news here. We're just breaking news all over the place, you bastards. All right, so the long-awaited Dynasty 13 draft order. Something that we've all been, waiting for, and finally, I am ready to announce it to you assholes. Okay, so, as we all know, or you may or may not know, I don't know if you know this or not, but the draft order is determined by various factors. It's a combination of last season's results, the champion, the runner-up, the playoff teams. It's also the results of any warnings and that may have taken place or violations. And then lastly, it's also a result of the Super Bowl predictions that some of us took part in. And I will say, by the way, that within the Super Bowl predictions, first of all, there was one team that predicted the team that actually ended up winning, which was the Denver Broncos, which is the team that has the number 1 pick. And also in I think the 2 and 3 and maybe in 6, 7, somewhere around there, the draft order, the nipples were a factor. So how many nipples appeared during the Super Bowl broadcast, commercials included, of course, factored into the draft order. And I'm going to let you guys know right now, there was a record-breaking... Actually, Ben, before I announce this, Ben, take a random stab. I mean, Super Bowl was a while ago. I'm sure you probably don't remember, whatever. Just take a random stab, and listeners, play at home. Feel free to play at home. How many nipples would you say were visible during the Super Bowl broadcast from kickoff until the clock hit 0, including commercials, including the halftime and everything like that?
Including the I don't know. I would say 18.
You know what? Good guess. And if you guessed that number, then that probably would have won because most people guessed anywhere from 0 to 7. The correct.
I'm trying to think of the halftime show. I thought there was some nipples there.
The halftime show was friggin' Coldplay and Beyonce and Bruno Mars and all that. And actually, there were no nipples shown during halftime. However, all the nipples were shown during commercials. There was a record-breaking 33 nipples.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that appeared. There was 2 during an E-insurance commercial. There were 2 during a Michelob commercial. 2 during a Jungle Book movie commercial. 4 during an Advil commercial. 3 during the Jason Bourne trailer. 2 during a Dollar Shave commercial. The man was shaving and he was shirtless and you could clearly see his nips. There were 2 during an Avengers commercial. The Hulk, actually, you could see his nips, which were probably huge. They're probably the size of fucking cars or whatever. There were 4 during an Axe Spray commercial, and then there were 2 during a CBS promo, and then there were 10 commercials during a Survivor promo commercial, which adds up to 33. So, anyway, without further ado, let's start with number 1. I already alluded to this earlier. This team was the only team that accurately predicted the winning team, which is the Denver Broncos, and I will say, a little humble brag, that person ended up winning some actual straight cash on this as well, which is myself. The Riverdale Scoopers, I have the number 1 pick in the draft. The number 2 pick in the draft goes to Brutal Deluxe, Brandon McDowell. The number 3 pick in the draft goes to Chris Heaney, VIP on Swole. The number 4 pick in the draft, we already knew who this was. This, of course, we all know the rule book, and if you don't, it's your own damn fault. If you come in last place in the league now, in addition to being responsible for half the pizza, in addition to being responsible to bring some sort of dessert or chips to the draft now, you are also automatically, not counting warnings, and no warnings were accumulated for these 4 teams. So you are automatically the number 4 pick in the draft. So there you go. Handy Quack, Zach Palucha, last team in the league. And then number 5 goes to Coach Brian Tav, Soglo. Although I don't think he has a second-round pick, but anyway, that's where his draft order is. No, Coach number 6. By the way, I'm not talking. I mentioned this about Brian, and I think there's other teams that don't have number 2 picks, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We'll go over that another day. Draft number 6 is Bubba Palucha, Bubblegum Shrimp. Draft pick number 7 goes to Yoi Soy, Derek Mello, and draft number 8, order number 8 goes to Rochdalian Senators. And then number 9, of course, goes to the 4th place, which is yourself, Ben, Boston Loggers. Number 10 goes to the 3rd place winner, Phil Tamulus, Big Newtons. The runner-up, number 11, is actually our new guy, new team, Val Venus. Coach Briscoe, by the way, that's his new team name, Val Venus. And lastly, the champion, number 12, Coach Matt Whiffen, Hong Kong Cavaliers, sitting in the championship seat, or maybe possibly the coach, I don't know. So anyway, there is the draft order. Any questions, Ben? Any questions or concerns? Anything about that you would like to address?
No, I understand it 100%.
There it is.
We interrupt this broadcast to remind you that you can get all of the latest Dynasty updates by following the Riverdale Gazette on Twitter. The Riverdale Gazette Twitter page. Don't be left behind.
Okay, so a friendly reminder that some of you still have your your league ballot and your Hall of Fame ballot, and so be sure to don't forget about getting those in. We don't want to see any warnings occur this early in a season that hasn't really even started yet. Speaking of the league ballot, by the way, you may know that I include a section that if you have any ideas, any out of the box ideas, which are my my favorite, some of the best things out of this league have come from people really throwing out of the box ideas and creative stuff. Brian Tavolieri, he had a very interesting out-of-the-box idea, which I thought I'd share with you all, and I'm going to just go ahead and read it, Ben, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he said, yeah, here's an out-of-the-box idea. Put everyone in a box and bury them alive. First one wins the first pick in the draft. Last one out probably died, so we'd have to get a new member every year until a post-apocalyptic zombie war breaks out. I still want in the league if I get turned into a zombie, by the way. My first pick every year would be brains. There you go. So we'll think about that. We'll toss that around a little bit. Also, within the next few weeks, I will be announcing what the actual league fee amount is. Obviously, once I get everyone's league ballots. Of course, that's always due by July 1st, so prepare accordingly for that. And soon I'll be officially announcing the actual draft day date, which, as always, is Labor Day weekend and is usually always the Sunday, which is September 4th, and that's probably what it's going to be again. It's only 4 months away, bitches. Only 4 months away. Ben, thank you for co-hosting the second portion of this off-season podcast. And where can all of our listeners find your ass on Twitter?
They can find me at BG_green.
There it is.
And you'll be, yes, especially this weekend, you're going to want to see my Twitter.
Oh, any particular reason?
I'm going to be partying with Johnny Manziel at his favorite, in his favorite city. So if you don't know where that is, you're an idiot. I
agree. If you don't know where that is, you're an idiot. It may or may not rhyme with Pascagus. So, there you go. I'm at Riverdale Gazette, and like I implied earlier, if you have a problem with the division alignments, or a problem with the draft order, go fuck yourself. Over and out.
Thank you for listening to the Dynasty Podcast. To hear more podcasts in your ear holes, subscribe to the show on YouTube. Or don't. The choice is yours.